Hello and welcome to All Things Foster, a place for coffee, connection, and community. We've got an exciting guest that we're going to talk to here in just a second. But before we do, I want to, this is a shout out to my BNI Lone Star Leaders chapter. Business Networking International is a worldwide organization for referral networking. Members come to a weekly meeting to get to know others' businesses, grow relationships, and pass referrals to each other. BNI Lone Star Leaders is my chapter, and they are some of the most giving people I interact with regularly. I love going to our meeting each week and have come to know the members of our chapter so well. If you're interested in finding out more about BNI, more about our chapter in detail, post in the comments below and we'll get you more information, or you can check out our website, www.bniwesttexas.com/LSL. And then you can check out our Facebook page. If you look for BNI Lone Star Leaders, you'll find it that way too. And I'll just tell you guys, I mean, I say this most every week. My sponsors are awesome folks, and this chapter, they've just really become kind of a family, and so they're just really, really great people. So if you need a networking opportunity and you're in the Panhandle area, hit us up. And then, if you're somewhere else, there's BNIs all over the place. And so check it out. So, all right. So I do want to say that this episode is posting on our 1-year anniversary. So we're kind of excited about that. It's been a long road to get here, but it's been great. We've had some really, really interesting conversations, some heavy conversations, and some less heavy, but it's been great. So thank you guys if you're listening, and if you've listened from the beginning, thank you so much for sticking it with us. And anyway, so today we've got Deanna Culver with us on our podcast, and so our kind of theme for today is we are not our parents' sins. Foster care, faith, and breaking the cycle. So Deanna, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's tough to come on and share, deeply personal experiences. And so I appreciate you, being willing to come on and talk about your experiences.
Thank you. I appreciate your time too.
Absolutely. So our conversation today is kind of about identity. It's about trauma and faith, and about the truth that foster care does not get to define who you become. So, Deanna, let's kind of start with a quote that you told me, which is, "I believe I carried my mother's demons on my shoulders." Talk to us about that. What does that mean for you?
That really hits hard every day. And I try to be completely different than what she or how she lived her life, actually. And so, with all the struggles of growing up and being in an abusive, physical, mental, emotional, psychological, abusive environment with my mother, and my dad working so much that he wasn't always around to see the true identity of what she was doing to his children, it affects almost everything I do and how I try to improve myself all the time. Because the one thing I always have told myself, that I have learned how not to be from my parents. And there's statistics and stigmas and everything around so many topics. And for me, I have learned so much that when I raised my own children, I wasn't going to do unto them what was done unto me. Rather, it was in foster care or with my own mother. And I don't really mention much of my dad because, like I said, he worked a lot, so he wasn't around all the time. But when he was present, he wasn't really there. It was pretty hard for him in trying to raise a family. And just in the last 2 years before he passed away, I got to really know him as a human being, a dad, and a man. And I'm thankful for that, because after my mother had passed in 2022, and my dad passed in 2025, 2 years I got with him, I learned so much. And there were so many secrets and so many things hidden and so many things that he wasn't aware of until I brought it to the surface, or my sisters or even his own sisters, my aunts, from what they had seen with us kids growing up. And so that was a heavy burden for him to hear all this stuff the last 2 years of his life. And I kind of feel guilty that we all like dumped on him.
Mm,
But we also didn't have a chance to really have much of a relationship when my mother was around because, his marriage with her was marriage, and to him you don't get divorced. You keep
mm,
going, you keep trying. And unfortunately, we as kids growing up, we always thought, well, didn't our dad take us out? Why didn't he go and raise us on his own? He could have done a
mm-hmm,
fabulous job on his own. And we always want, especially myself, I always wondered why, why didn't he? And so I finally got to ask him that question the last 2 years of his life. I got to know him, and I have forgiven him. I have enormous respect for him. And I feel really bad that he didn't get to have a happy life, and that he didn't get to see us kids grow in a way that any man should have been able to see his children grow in. And unfortunately, back in those days, you get married, you stay married, and you just tough it out, and unfortunately, it affected all of us kids. And of course, it affected him and my mother because you can tell that their relationship wasn't all, about togetherness and love and all that. So just living through what we did as kids in foster care and with my mother, it's something I don't wish upon any child ever.
absolutely.
And then in foster care, I don't wish that upon any child too. I mean, there's so many good foster parents out there, foster homes. There are. And I'm not trying to demean them or make it seem like it's the worst thing in the world for a child to have to go and live in and that. But just from my own experience, it wasn't a healthy environment, either home nor both the foster care homes. It wasn't safe. It wasn't togetherness, happy. It wasn't what you would perceive as being a safe place to rest your head at night, or
Yeah.
where you could trust the adults with anything that you needed to say. It almost feels like, and it was only 2 foster homes we were in, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not like only. I mean, it was 2 foster homes, and it's like taking a plastic bag and putting your belongings in and not knowing where you're
Yeah.
going next,
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
and I often also say, to have lived in those foster care homes, I would have rather have stayed and not been loved or cared about and beaten and basically destroyed as a child than going home and knowing my own mother didn't want me or love me enough or care enough.
Right.
So I often just say that it would have been better just to leave us there. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. And the courts allowed my parents to take us back, get us back. And that was one of the biggest mistakes the state made. And I'm talking about Illinois. I'm not talking about Wisconsin. We were in foster care in Illinois. And and so that to me was the biggest mistake the state made by giving us back. And who knows where I would have been though. I mean, in foster care, it can be a positive, it could be a not so good experience for any child, no matter what age. It's a scary time. But
Mm-hmm.
I would have rather have stayed because just hearing and seeing and feeling and knowing everything my mother felt towards me, it hurts more knowing my
Right.
own mother. It's better to know that somebody else, can treat you like that as a grown up when you're a child, because you don't really have too much invested in it. But when it's your own mother, and that's the hardest reality. And she
So
wasn't
what brought you
healthy.
guys? Well, yeah,
She
clearly.
definitely
So
wasn't
do you?
healthy. So,
Yeah. Well, and that's what that there's this cycle, right?
yes.
Where people that have been abused then turn around and abuse, and that's why it's so difficult to break out of that. And so it takes a devoted, courageous person to say, I am not gonna do that. I'm not going to be that way. And
I
that's
know
just,
I know my moment is what they say, moment or ha moment,
mm-hmm.
or what. I
Yeah.
know my exact moment when I said those words that I was never going to do unto my children was done unto me, was when my mother had me in her bedroom closet and she was beating on me and I was pregnant, and she called me every name in the book. She threatened to, this is intense. I'm sorry, but it's there. She threatened to stick a coat hanger up me to kill my child because I was pregnant at the time. And so while I was in this dark closet with my mother over my head, yelling and screaming and kicking and trying to hit me, I'm blocking my stomach so that she wouldn't hurt my
Mm,
child that I was carrying. I looked
nice.
up into the air, into the closet. I just looked up into the air like, God, please, if for any
Yeah.
reason you can get me out of this and help save my child, I promise I will never do unto my children what has ever been done unto me by anybody. And so I worked extremely hard as a single parent. I had gotten divorced. And then as a single parent, I worked extremely hard to make sure that I didn't do unto them. However, I know I made a lot of mistakes because I didn't know anything about being a parent. I was 16 and pregnant, and I
Yeah.
had gotten married, and my marriage was abusive in every way. So I ended up having to escape and leave with my child. And I had to learn a lot. And back then, we didn't have the cell phones, the internet to research things or ask for help from anybody. So my outlet was the library. So I learned basically how to be a parent through books and also by just mistakes and praying to God that He could guide me, because I know I made a lot of mistakes with my children, but I can always say with all of my heart that I never beat on them. I never destroyed them so bad that they would think that I didn't love them or I disliked them or I wish they weren't here, because God forbid, I can't imagine doing that to my children. So that was my aha moment, was in the closet when I swore I would never, ever, ever do that, because I'm not a perfect parent, never was, never will be, never pretended to be. And my kids know this. And I've made some mistakes like yelling and getting
Sure.
upset and saying some things that I didn't mean to say, but it
Mm,
wasn't demeaning to them. It wasn't
right.
destroying them as a human being. But some of the words that did come out of my mouth were not always the greatest. And I will keep apologizing until the day I'm gone, because they all know that without them, I wouldn't be here. I love them so much. And they know their grandmother. They know her. And wasn't healthy for them as grandchildren to be around her, and so they didn't have a relationship. And then with my dad, they finally had a relationship with him the last 2 years of his life too, because they weren't allowed to either. So
Mm,
big, humongous up and down roller coaster struggle, but through it all, there is always ways for improvement. And and that's my main thing, is even if people don't think they have it in them, they do. There's always a way to find out, what can I do to change, the situation, even if it takes me a day, a week, a month, a years. Somehow you got to just keep working forward to keep improving yourself, because in the end, it's going to be yourself that's got to look back and say, hey, did you even attempt to try? Did you try? Did you fix things and make things? And if you didn't, at least you tried.
mm, yeah. So you talked about hearing the Ten Commandments when you were a kid, and that had a big impact on you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I was in fifth grade at St. Isidore School, Catholic school in Illinois, and I think it was in Barrington or somewhere around Barrington and by Hanover Park, Illinois. And my teacher was Mrs. Nancy Magia. And when we go to church, I'd hear the Ten Commandments. I'd hear beautiful songs we'd sing, and just, I mean, I couldn't quote you right now and say all that stuff because I don't remember all the things I learned in Catholic school. But I just started thinking and learning and realizing that as a kid, fifth grade, that, okay, something's not right. This is not normal. But yet I thought it was normal, the way I was living. And as I got older and realized that I have carried my mother's burdens, her depression, her addiction to prescription medication, her doubts and her sadness and her anger and everything that she had been as a human being, as a woman, as a mother. I carried everything on my shoulders, thinking that if I did something better or right or didn't make a mistake, would I be loved? Would I be taken care of and looked at differently? But going through the Ten Commandments in church and singing and all that, it's like, as an adult, I realized that I carried all this for what? For what? I've carried it all, and I have internally beaten myself up and doubted myself and did so much damage to myself, thinking that I was, no good, and taking on all her stuff wasn't mine to take, wasn't mine to take care of or fix or redo or anything. It was on her. And I am 56 now, and it's only taken me the last 6 years to start realizing, and especially since she passed away in 2020, that she was sick and didn't get help. And back then, I guess, from what my mother and father would say is, what stays in the house stays in the house. Nobody's business, doesn't go out of the house. And you know
Right.
what? It's not true, but that's how they thought.
Hmm.
And so I took on so much because I wanted to be better, and I wanted to be a good kid and a better daughter. And so I hardly ever said no to my parents. If they needed anything, they knew they can count on me. The
Hmm.
last couple of years of my dad's life, I was there nonstop whenever he called or wanted to do something or he needed anything. The last couple of years of my mother's life, I was there for her, even though it was the hardest thing to do. I had to be there and for her so that I, as a daughter, could honestly say that I kept trying. And although I searched high and low for apologies from her, she said one day in her office, in her computer room, which was kind of like her office, I don't know, but she didn't work outside the home or anything, or inside the home. It's just a little spot that she called her office. Anyways, I asked her, if this was a time when you were knowing that you were going to pass away, would you look at any of your children and apologize for anything you did or said or didn't do? And she said, no, I have nothing to apologize for. I did everything I was
Yes.
supposed to as a mother. And I'm like, okay, there's my answer. However, I
Yeah.
still kept trying the last couple of years of her life. I still kept trying, and it just never happened.
Yeah.
As I struggle with her being gone, I have yet to grieve in the last, oh gosh, it's 3 years already. It'll be 3 years this year. I haven't really cried at all for her. I haven't anything. I don't feel really anything except for sorrow and that she couldn't see her way through. I know a lot of the things she was struggling with because she did say a lot of things when we were growing up. And the more I knew her towards the last couple of years of her life, talking with her, she was in pain. She was hurting. She was sad, depressed, and highly medicated on prescription medication and couldn't find her way. And although that's not an excuse in my book, it's not an excuse to treat your children that way. I
Hmm.
also look at her as a human being. She's a human being. She was born for a reason, and whether she lived that path in a good way or not, that wasn't up to me to decide, and I can't keep carrying it for her. So as I go these years without her, I'm eventually going to have to, for myself, heal and grieve and figure this out because I can't continue carrying the weight of my mother on my shoulders. And I'm
Yeah.
starting to. I really am. I'm starting to realize I can't, and why did I carry it for so long? Why? Why did
Right.
I? But you don't realize you are. You really don't
No.
realize you are.
No. Yeah.
So the Ten Commandments, everything that I learned and still learn about myself and God and the Bible and life in general and human beings. Because I'm a mental health advocate, I am a alternatives to suicide facilitator. I'm a certified peer specialist. I volunteer. I do a lot. So I've learned a lot about my own mental health. I've learned a lot about my own children's and grandchildren's mental health. I've learned about individuals, people's struggles. And that's because I've been working really hard since, like, I don't know, 2014, when I graduated with an associate degree in mental health and domestic violence. I'm like, something's got to change. I've got to figure this out so I know how to take care of my
Mhm.
own mental health.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten to the point where I've been able to understand more, learn more. And although people may not agree with me, I do have to say that my mother was sick and she was hurting and didn't know how to reach out. And do I give her credit for anything? Yeah, for giving birth to me and my twin sister, and for doing what she could as a mother and a wife in the beginning. However, something snapped, something went wrong. I did mention I had a twin sister. She passed away at 3 days old. So the loss of a child, and my brother, my mother's, um, my brother had passed away too while she was giving
Mm.
birth. So those are some traumatic things that she never got counseling
Yeah.
for. She didn't heal
Sure.
from. She didn't look outward. So I'm sure there's a lot more that I don't know about her or understand about her, and I'll never know because she's no longer here and there's nobody on her side of the family to help me understand.
Hmm.
Yet it's not an excuse for what she did to us, but it is something that I have to feel comfortable in saying that she was still a human being. And if she had known better or gotten the help she needed, she could have been better for herself and her family. And and so I'm just learning how not to carry it. And it's still going to take me a long time. It's not just going to happen just because I
Right.
realized, in 2014, all this stuff. It's not going to happen just because she passed away a couple of years ago. This is a long road for me. And hopefully I'll get to a point where I can finally say the forgiveness to her and hope that she's okay and resting peacefully and she's made her amends with God and anything else she needs to do. And, depending on how everybody views God or not, I mean, for myself, I have to believe that there's something higher power than myself, because I turn to God and I beg and I ask and I talk and I wish and I hope and I get mad and I get uncertainties about God and up and down the roller coaster thing. But in the end, I don't have to hold my mother's stuff. I don't have to be who she was. I don't have to make excuses for her. I don't have to be that child that's trying to be that good child when really all kids are good. There's no reason that people in general would think that they're not. It's even if we're raised in a horrible situation, we can still be good people. And
Yeah.
it takes
Yeah.
a
There's definitely hope.
lot. Yeah, it takes a lot of work, though. I won't pretend that it doesn't, but it's an everyday thing to have to do. So I think that kind of answered the question. Well, at
Yeah.
least I hope.
Yeah.
I hope so.
No, absolutely. So let's talk about going into foster care, right? So there were some things happening at home, and so you're you and you have some siblings that were all removed at the same time.
Yeah, I have three other three other sisters. However, one wasn't born yet at that time when me and my other two sisters went into foster care. So she has no idea of the experiences or what we went through. And she
Right.
was treated totally different than the other, all three of us. The youngest
Mm,
one, was treated totally different. And that's not on her. That's something that we just saw growing up. And I'm thankful she didn't have to experience the foster care system that we were in. And
hmm.
so, yeah, it was a tough transition.
Hmm.
But like I said in the beginning, I would have rather have stayed than been put back with them. However, the things that I learned and saw in foster care back in the 70s. It wasn't that it was accepted. It's just I didn't know any different,
Yeah.
and I'm sure
Sure.
there were probably a handful or more children seeing it the same way I did, or many other homes that were very positive and helpful. But the ones that I were in, the two that was in, and my sisters, no, wasn't. It wasn't really a safe place, but it was all we had, all we
Yeah.
knew.
So you talked about the ivory soap memory.
Mm.
What is talk to us
I
about that?
I cannot stand the smell of ivory soap,
Yeah.
because it just makes me remember the social worker smell. It's like she must have, showered with ivory soap, because that's what I smelled when meeting with her, meeting her
Yeah.
in going. So that smell, I'm just nah. That's okay. Ivory could keep ivory soap, because I don't care for it. But as a kid, that's what I remember is ivory soap, the smell, and
Mm.
and you just remember certain things, by
Yeah.
seeing or smelling or
Y-
touching, and
Yeah. You get this association memory, and then it's just yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so ivory soap is one of them, and yeah, so it's not anything like out there like, oh wow, ivory soap. It's ivory soap as not in a bad thing. Just for me, that's what I associate the social worker with,
Mm.
and leaving my parents, and then that's basically it with the ivory soap. I've
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
used ivory soap ever because of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, we get those ingrained memories, and then and they say that the sense of smell is the strongest. It brings memory the strongest,
Yes.
and so
Hmm.
so yeah, I can definitely see the kind of that association there.
Yeah.
Mm. So
Sorry,
what
ivory
was
soap.
it? what what do you remember most about the day that you guys came into care?
I think that the only thing I really remember is the ivory soap, and not understanding why we were being taken away,
Mm.
crying and wishing that my parents would say, wait a minute, there's something wrong, and you can't take them, or whatever happened with their, reactions or whatever. I just remember wishing that we didn't have to go away, and wishing that somebody would talk to us without treating us like kids. I mean, we were kids, but at least explain things better to us,
Yeah,
because
sure.
it's a scary, scary time to be uprooted from what you knew
Yeah,
into strangers' homes, and looking at them as adults and being like, wait a minute, now this is my life. How
yeah,
do I go about it? Who do I trust? Who do I look to if I have questions? Who do I believe in? And are they going to even like me? Are they going to even accept me? Am I just somebody that's invisible, or am I going to be, ever return to my parents? Or why is this
yeah,
happening? And,
sure.
unfortunately, those are a lot of the same feelings a lot of kids feel, but if I could say it to any of the children out there, it's not on you. It is not you.
Yeah,
It is not your decisions that made you go there, or anything. We're kids. We don't know any different. And the
yeah.
human brain doesn't develop until we're like 25, 26. I mean, so
Hmm.
everything that you learn before 25 and 26, it's a process. And so it's something that being taken was hard, and then losing the grip on my mother's hand and not sure. I don't even remember what my sisters were doing at the time we were all being
Sure.
taken away. I just know
Yeah.
that in my mind, I'm in this big, humongous world, and I'm this little tiny black dot just sitting right there, not knowing if I'm going to be erased, or if I'm going to be
Mm.
made a bigger black dot, or am I just going to be put, on a piece of paper and crumbled up and thrown away because I mean nothing. And as a kid, your mind just goes to all these different scenarios of what if and how and why and who and things like that. You just feel like invisible and that everything's
Mm,
your fault and you did something wrong to be in that situation, when in all reality it's not on us as kids,
yeah,
and we shouldn't
absolutely.
have to carry that.
So, how do you think that this instability in connection with adults, you know, relationship, what do you think? How do you think it affected your ability to like attach properly to have relationship with people?
Well, I think for myself, one of the hardest things, because I didn't know what a healthy relationship was. I didn't know what a healthy parent child relationship was.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
didn't understand anything about adults around me because I didn't have the positive part. I had the not so good part that made it hard to attach to anybody without feeling like I owed them something, or I had to prove
Mm,
something, or I had to be something else or someone else. So I had to work extra hard, or I couldn't say no. And everything that I did was looked at as the biggest mistake I could ever make, or that trying wasn't good enough, or anything. And so, just by way of the way I grew up in all scenarios between my parents and foster care, it's taken me 56 years. I'm still working on having some kind of healthier relationship with other people, because there's a part of me that, and I'm not sure if it makes sense to anybody else, but in my mind it makes sense, that I feel divided. Part of me is a child and part of me is an adult. The child in me hadn't had a chance and was destroyed so badly. And my mother used to always tell me, I wish you were dead and never born. I don't
mm,
like you, and I wish your twin sister was alive. And she always accused me of killing my twin sister. And I believe I killed my twin sister. I really did, until I was 19 years old. When I was 19 years old and was doing research at the library, I realized I didn't kill my twin sister. My twin
right.
sister was 3 days old when she passed away, and her heart was underdeveloped. She was 2 pounds. I was 2 pounds. My lungs were underdeveloped. So the
Yeah.
doctors told my parents to take me home and let me die because there was nothing else they could do for me. So how I survived and my twin didn't, I don't completely understand, but I
Sure.
try to accept it as maybe God had a way of doing it that way, because maybe she wouldn't have been able to handle any of the things that we went through. Maybe she could have. I don't know. I'm just saying in my mind
Hmm.
that, do I wish Cynthia was around? That was my twin sister's name. Oh, heck yes. I would have loved to have been
Yeah.
a twin
Sure.
and done things and everything that twins do. And I
Yeah.
missed that opportunity because she passed away. And I don't completely understand the physical body parts of, why it happens and things, yet it did happen. And so I'm thankful she didn't have to experience being hurt like I was, being
Yeah.
destroyed, being told horrible, horrible things about yourself, and living through life wondering who you are and what you are and where you're going and why, and do you even belong here. My last suicide attempt was in 2015, and I promised God, because when I make promises, I keep my promises. I promised God in 2015 I'd never attempt again, and I haven't. Um, but it doesn't mean that I don't struggle, and it doesn't mean that I don't have to work extra hard to help myself, because there's times that I have suicidal ideations, and
Hmm.
where I think of a plan and I want to do it, but then I stop and I'm like, okay, I promise God, I've got children, I've got grandchildren, I've got some reason that God has put me here, and I will figure it out
Mm,
as I go along.
yeah. Mm,
So maybe my twin sister may not have been able to. I don't know. Maybe she could have, and maybe it was me that would have died, and then maybe. But then I can't fathom thinking that she should have. been put through the same thing. She shouldn't. No child should. But to think of her and my brother David, no. Mm-mm. They they're where they need to be with God, and they didn't have to experience that. And it's kind of hard to understand in a way because they deserved to live too. They deserved a life. They deserved so much too, and happiness and everything. Every single human being out there deserves some happiness, love, care, support, and self worth of themselves to understand. And the ones that have passed away for whatever reasons deserved it too. And yet here we are, and we have to go on with life and try to figure things out for ourselves. And so in my heart, it was probably, I can't say the best thing to happen to where she passed away, because she didn't have to go through anything like that.
Mm,
Because in a way I feel selfish saying that, but she didn't have to.
yeah.
And my brother didn't have to. And that, I think, is where I can live with myself. But the fact that my mother destroyed me and thinking that I killed my sister and I
Sure.
shouldn't be
Yeah.
born, and she wished I was dead, it's stuck with me so long. And like I said, my mother didn't get the help she needed. And I'm learning to not hold all that stuff. It's gonna still take a while, but I'm still learning. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's a hard one. I really
Yeah.
wish she would have gotten help. And the more I learned about my own mental health and my kids and my grandkids and people in general, the more I looked at my mother differently. Because I used to think horrible things because she would say things, and I would be like, I love her, but I don't love her. And she's my mother.
Mm,
She's my mom. And there's a lot of times I just said mother because moms don't do that, to their children.
yeah.
But then I think back and I think of my own journey, and I'm like, she was sick. She needed help. It wasn't available for her because she didn't look for it. And back then there wasn't as much help or much knowledge as there is nowadays.
Yeah.
So if I could say anything to people, don't stop learning about yourself and the people around you, and don't stop
Yeah.
giving yourself a second chance, a third chance to get it not necessarily right, but the best possible fit for yourself to be able to be
Yeah.
happy with what you're doing in life.
Hmm.
And so I do feel sorry for my mother in a lot of ways, but I also realize I can't take it. I can't hold it on my shoulders anymore. And
Yeah.
now that she's gone, she's not in pain anymore. She's not hurting anymore. She's not sad anymore. She's not, going like this at the kitchen table because she's, drugged on prescription meds. She's, she doesn't have to deal with any of that anymore. She can rest in peace if anything. And I'm hoping she did make peace with God and worked out things, because she had a journey herself to have to accomplish for herself to find her way.
Yeah. You you said that you learned to pack hope away before it could be taken. What does that mean for you?
Oh, wow. So hope to me nowadays is there's always hope to improve. There's always hope to change things and make things happen. And there is a life. There's beauty in the world. There's positivity. I am usually a positive person. And so when I was younger, hope was not anywhere around. There was no hope
Yeah.
of me getting out from underneath my parents, or especially my mother's hands, or there was no hope of the end of being beaten, or the end of being told you're stupid and ugly and fat and I wish you would never born. There was no hope of never hearing those words again.
Yeah.
So as I grew older, just things I just kind of pack away and with me, because I'm like, in a way, it's kind of like I don't want anybody to take what I am starting to believe in myself. I don't want people to take away the things that I work hard for, because as a kid, you wish on hope that, oh my God, I hope my parents will come and get me, or I hope that my mom won't hit me today, or I hope that I go home and she's not going to yell at me because I wasn't home in time from school, or I didn't clean up some. I hope that I can be just invisible so that she doesn't realize that I'm hurting, or so
Mm.
getting older, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm hoping for everything to work out for myself. I'm hoping other people can find their way. I'm hoping other people will journey along and take themselves not too serious, but serious enough to realize you matter, and you don't have to be what your parents were, or anybody else for that matter that may have destroyed you in some way, shape, or form, rather it be parents, grandparents, family members, not family members, exes, anybody, so packing it away, I lived to finally be able to find hope somewhere. And my hope
Yeah.
was growing up that one day I would be a decent human being and loving parent and role models for my children, and that I would hope for others to never have to experience the damage that had been done on to me and my siblings. Yet I can't control everybody. I can't control anybody else's life. I can't fix everybody. I can't do everything for everybody. I understand that. It took me a long time to realize that, because I always wanted to help, 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 and I still do.
Yeah.
But I've gotten
Sure.
to a point where I know that for my hope to work, it's the next day. So I often also say the same, and I do photography for nature, and I write on my pictures. And in my poetry book that I published, it says, make today better than yesterday and tomorrow better than today. And the reason why I say that is because you can't change yesterday, but you can heal from yesterday. Today, you may be healing and living on hope and trying to fix things and all that. And you don't necessarily have to look towards the future, because you have to live in the present. Yet sometimes looking at, okay, what can I do tomorrow? Then I made a mistake today about how can I fix that so tomorrow it doesn't happen again, or tomorrow is better than today, because we're all going to have not so good days. We're all going to be self-doubting ourselves. We're all, we're human beings.
Yeah.
So that is a saying, that I live by, make today better than yesterday and tomorrow better than today, so that there's hope right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk to a foster parent who's fostering right now that you know that you wish that they understood about a kiddo that's come into their home that's really guarded or distant. What do you think? How do you communicate to them, or what would you tell them?
Well, first I would say thank you for taking part of your life out to help a child in need.
Mm,
Thank you for not being selfish, and thank you for opening your homes and hearts to the children that need some sort of support, guidance, love, care, understanding, because it's not an easy, position to put yourself in. And it's something that you have to think really hard about, to be able to open your home to somebody else's child.
mm,
Yet as a child, it's the scariest thing, because you're being taken away from what you know and who you know, unsure of the surroundings, uncertain if you're going to go back to your parents or not, rather it's a healthy environment or not. And you're all strangers to the children,
mm,
and to look at a child, try to be on their level when you're talking to them and not above them, because they are scared enough and terrified of what's to happen or not happen. They don't know which direction they're going in, which door is open, or which one's going to close. They don't know when their next meal is going to be, if they're going to have clean
mm.
clothes, if they're going to be treated respectfully or not, if they're going to even be a child at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I would have to just say to go on the child's level when you first meet them and say, what can I do to help you in this moment moving forward to make this transition beneficial for you as well as the whole environment that you're going to be, you know, in living in.
Mm.
And then after that first moment, then start working together with the child to make it comfortable for them. Definitely ask them all the time how they're doing. Don't be too hard on them because they're children for one. And we as adults have to remember when we were kids on what our mind was, or our uncertainties, or not knowing the answers, that these are children too that are looking
Mm.
to you as adults to say, hey, it's going to be okay. Even if it's for a day or a week or a month or years that you're staying with me, it will be okay. You can trust me. I will prove to you that you can trust me, because I know trust is a hard one, but I will support you and guide you and help lead you in a direction where you will not have to go to bed wondering if you're even wanted here, or if you're
Yeah.
really accepted, and just treat them like you would want yourself to be treated if you were a child again. And then if you have children of your own, look at your own children, and kind of put the foster children in that same scenario of, wow, how would I want to treat my children, or how would I want somebody to treat me as a kid if I had come into this home, and
Yeah.
give them a chance, because they're going to be either okay right away, or they're going to be a mess right away, but it's going to be scary, and they're just going to need you to say it's going to be okay, and that you're there, and they can trust you, and it's an earned trust. It's not something that's just granted.
Yeah.
Kids have to be taught and shown how an adult should act and react and be around
Mm.
them. And if they go into a home and nothing's said really, or you've got a house full of kids that are not your own and you're trying to take care of them, each of those children are their own human being, their own individualities will come through.
Mm.
And no child is bad, no child is wrong in the sense of acting out or anything. It's a mechanism of fear and uncertainty and terror and self doubt and uncertainty of if you're even loved, cared about. So
Yeah.
open that door with open arms, maybe not literally, but open them with a way of inviting these children in so that they have a place to call home for as long as they have you, for your environment as a home.
Yeah.
And lead them in the best possible way you can. And if you don't have the answers, keep seeking them too, to help them as well as yourself. And the other thing is, take care of yourself too as foster parents, because
Yeah.
though us children see everything and hear everything, and we're not, children are not dumb. They're not, they understand in more ways than we think. They may not at the moment that to be able to express themselves, but eventually will be able to express themselves if they know that they are capable of trusting you, because you've opened that door
Mm.
for them and you haven't shut the
Mm-hmm.
window. You've opened that window. You opened the curtains. You've invited them to your table. You've walked with them hand in hand or arm in arm or just hip by hip or whatever. You're doing what
Mm.
you need to so these children can trust in you. But
Yeah.
along the way, you have to take care of yourself as foster parents and parents in general. People in general have to take care of yourself
Yeah.
too in the process,
Yep.
because
For
kids are
sure.
watching.
Yeah.
Kids are watching.
What do you think would have helped you feel safe fairly quickly into these new homes?
I would have to say what I mentioned. There was really no talking much or interest in what we were doing. It was like a routine of just get up and eat and get dressed and off to school, or in the summer, get up, get dressed and outside and do chores, and behave and not be considered the child that is a problem child or anything, but be kind of, it was hard because it was kind of like not wanting to be seen, because I don't want these people to think I'm a bad kid, or I don't want these people to
Yeah.
think, why did I even bother opening my door to this child, or what was
Mm.
I thinking? I thought that if I was invisible and just lived on hope, that eventually, things would work out, but hope wasn't there. I had to pack it away. was like that little black dot. I tried to
Yeah.
make myself invisible. So it was hard. It was very hard and scary, extremely scary. Yet I'm here
No
today
doubt.
to, you know, and I did mention that there's another thing that brings me back all the time to foster care is burnt toast.
Mm.
My great foster mother, for breakfast would make toast, and unfortunately, it would burn all the time. Why, I don't know. I always thought maybe it was a punishment or something, but I don't know. But I would smother peanut butter on it to help wash it down. I would drink a lot of water. But that smell of burnt toast, that's what we had for breakfast, either some eggs or some cereal, but burnt toast was huge for me. And as the day is long, if I smell burnt toast, it brings me right back to the terror of being a child in foster care. And those little Kellogg's cereal boxes, we always
Yeah.
had those at school. So I was so excited to run to school to be able to get at least one of those boxes that you open the box and pour the milk in the box
Hmm.
and eat fast so you can get to class. And so I don't really buy those anymore because whenever I have, I'd sit there and it just brings back memories of sitting in the
Mm.
school cafeteria after leaving the foster home, going to school. So there's some things that still bring me back, and that's where your senses and your touch and your eyes and just your brain is. It's there. It's
Yeah.
there. So
What do you think helped you the most trying to work through the trauma, the healing? What helped you the most?
first off, my children and grandchildren, especially my children, because they have taught me so much. They have taught me so much about how being a child. They've taught me how it is to be their mom, and they've taught me that mistakes are going to be made and it's okay. They've taught me that on my bad days that I wasn't the worst mom, but I could improve and work at it. So I think just my children and realizing that I was doing everything possible for my mother and trying to prove to her that I was a good kid. And you know what? I shouldn't have had to prove anything. I was
Yeah.
a kid.
Right.
And so watching my own children, I'm like, thank God that God was listening to me because I didn't beat on my kids. And I made a mistake with each of my children one time. Each of my children, one incident. And in all honesty, I slapped one of my children across the face and I stopped immediately
Mm.
because I saw my mother in me and I
Right.
backed away and I apologized. I held her. I cried. I was so, so mad at myself that I let my upsetness get the better of me for whatever reason it was at that time. And I never did it again to her. But I
Mm.
still to this day feel bad. And then
Yeah.
one of my other children, I tossed her onto the couch and I feel horrible still to this day about this. She was a kid, and here I am trying to fight not being my mother because, like I said, it was a struggle every day to just keep going and fighting and being somebody that I wasn't taught how to be. I didn't want to be my mother. So I was
Mm.
working very hard every day to not be her.
Yeah.
And so when those incidences happened, I immediately, it just took me aback within not even 30 seconds of realizing what I just did to my child. And
Yeah.
oh my God, it tore me apart. It made me fearful. I'm like, oh my God, it can't be my mother. Do not do this to your children. They will have the same outcome if you turn into your mother. You can't. You've got to work hard
Yeah.
to not, and those are some mistakes that I have to live with because, wow, I can't believe I did that. But it was the one mistakes with them that I had learned. Keep fighting, keep going. Got to
Mm.
just, realize what you're doing. And that's the thing with statistics and stigmas and all that, that the way you grow up and everything is who you're going to be and what you're going to be. And that's all you know. And in reality, we all can change. We all can improve. We all can make
Mm.
things better. We all can
Yeah.
learn from our mistakes and apologize and do what we need to do to fix the situation. And although I'm not perfect at anything, I can say that I'm still a work in progress. It's still going forward.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
and I believe every single child, no matter who you are, where you are, deserves love, patient
Mm.
understanding, support, guidance, help, and just to have somebody listen to them from their point of view, not from our point of view as adults, but the point of view of the children and where they're coming from. Because every single one of us were children, once upon a time.
Mm.
So if we can just look back and say, hey, what would I want to tell this child? How would I want to teach this child? How do I want to support this child? Am I really stopping and listening to the child? And I think that we all, you know, are generally good people. Just there's mistakes that take us apart and throw us backwards and all that, but we can keep moving forward and being good, kind human beings. And the children
Yeah.
need that, whether you're
Yeah.
their parent or not. They need that. I'm a
Mm.
substitute teacher too, and I see it all the time in the schools. We really need to work a lot on helping each other to help these children because it's tough. Nothing is easy. It's tough. I've never
Mm.
been told anything was easy. It's just
Yeah.
I've heard people say it, and it's it's tough. Life is hard,
Yeah.
and our children are looking to us to make things better in one way or shape or form, so that they have a chance at becoming adults.
Wow, Deanna, man, I really appreciate you just sharing. I mean, man, just a just a powerful story. But I really feel like weaved through out of all the things that you've been through. There is hope. There is uh, healing that can happen. We got to do the work, but healing is possible. Forgiveness is
Right.
possible.
Yes. Yes. I've forgiven my dad. I'm honestly saying I haven't forgiven my mother yet, and I'm
Mm.
hoping to get there. There's that word hope again. I am hoping to get there. Maybe not necessarily for herself, but for myself. And
Yeah.
I try very hard to be a role model for my children so that they understand that we're all going to make mistakes. And you know what? You never stop learning. You never stop trying. Doesn't matter if you're one or if you're 100. You just keep trying. You keep working at it. Nothing is just going to be handed to you and say, oh, you're a great, perfect person and you can live your life and there's going to be nothing wrong. That is not reality. Reality is we all are just human. We all have feelings, thoughts, and it's how we react to things and what we can do to help ourselves. And you know what? Research. Go out and ask. And don't
Mm.
stop asking until you know that you feel comfortable with what the answer is, because it's you that is responsible for yourself. And I'm still learning. I'm going to learn till
Yeah.
I'm gone. We all are.
Yeah.
And I'm still healing. So having me on your show is, I appreciate it. I'm thankful that I could share part of my story. I hope that in some way, shape, or form I was able to help another human being understand
Mm.
what it's like to, one, be the child, but also understand as an adult that we're just adults.
Hmm.
We're human too, but don't stop believing
Hmm.
in what is possible in healing and fixing things and realizing we all make mistakes, and it's okay to make those mistakes as long as we keep learning from those
Sure.
mistakes and improving. And
Yeah. Hmm.
talk about your stories, talk about your thoughts and feelings and what you'd like to see changed in the world and how you can help another human being, along the way.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in, guys. We provide placement packages to kiddos coming into foster care all over the 26 counties of the Panhandle, and then we started this podcast. Like I said, it's been right at a year, and part of the goal is to have foster and adoptive parents get on and share their stories and their experiences, and have kiddos that were in the foster care system who are now adults that kind of grew up in that, so we can, as a community, we can understand more what kiddos are going through, and then and then some resources that are out there for foster and adoptive families and kiddos. And so I appreciate you guys tuning in. We're a nonprofit, and nonprofits require funding to survive. So, if you want to check out, go to our website, panhandleorphan.org/donation. You can set up a monthly gift there. $100 a month buys us all the clothes we need for one placement package. $50 buys us a case of wipes, and then $10 buys us an outfit each month. And so, if that's on your heart, think about that. Go to our website, panhandleorphan.org/donation. And guys, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and do all the things. We want more and more people to hear the folks that we have on here, and raise awareness for kiddos in foster care, and then the foster and adoptive families that bring them into their homes. So, Deanna, thank you again for coming on. And guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Yep.